Heads up, be careful.
Ooh,
Recording is in progress. Everything you
recordings.
say can and will be used against you in a court of public opinion.
Yes. And we hold ourselves very accountable to that court of public opinion. We are listening to you.
Yes. Yes. And to
Ooh,
and to what we assume you're thinking. All of the horrible, at least for me, all of the horrible things you're thinking. I take that to heart. And
yeah.
I imagine it and then I hold you accountable for it. And then I take it to heart. It's a whole thing.
We do the healthy version where we personalize it. We take it very critically. We'll talk about it. It'll eat up our sleep.
For sure. Because anything that I can or can't control is 100% boils down to me.
Yes.
Whether I
Yes.
can or can't, it's my fault.
That's a very healthy view of the world.
If there's one thing people say about me, it's that I'm emotionally healthy. I get that all the
Ooh,
time. Every
welcome. Welcome to Lawless Podcast with Justin and Clayton. I'm Clayton. This is my buddy Justin. We got it going on. We were healthy. We were mentally healthy. We're emotionally healthy. We're regulating. We
emotionally sound.
emotionally sound. We got good views of the world. We regulate our emotions. We do not bleed onto the world.
You know what would be a funny segment? We've talked about it, having a couple different segments. I think maybe a funny segment would be times that I came super close to just losing my mind over the dumbest stuff.
Oh my
We
God.
won't talk about the times that I actually lose my mind,
I
but we'll
can
talk
give
about
some doozies.
the times
I've
when I want to.
I've embarrassed myself so bad. Um, yeah, dude. And so I set that trigger point way back in my 20s, or even probably it probably goes back to my teens and childhood is exactly where it goes to. But like I'm gonna tell a story of one time I blew up on a coworker at VFA 106, and I thought everyone was gonna be on my side, but it turns out they were not.
What real quick? What is the VFA 106?
VFA Strike Fighter Squadron 106. It was a training squadron in the Navy. It's where new pilots after pilots become pilots in the Navy, they get their wings. They go to either an East Coast or a West Coast. They called it a RAG squadron, a training squadron, where they actually learn how to fight. Like they learn how to flew, now they learn how to fight, bomb and attack and fight and yada yada. Um, I'm gonna talk about that story. I lost it on a coworker over nothing. I mean, she was asking me to do my job, is
It's
what
the
she was
best.
doing. Yeah,
It's about keeping guessing.
yeah. Keep them guessing. Let it never know when I'm gonna lose it. Sorry, kids. And but what I wanted to, what I just to highlight, I think that that trigger point or whatever, where I said like, okay, I know when I get here, I make an ass of myself. Um, I've recognized it, but I don't know if I've reset. I don't know if I've recalibrated that trigger point
Yeah.
because I will still lose it over like, what do you mean the laundry, the dryer door wasn't shut all the way? I'm gonna, and people are like, Dad, chill. I'm like, you're right. You're right. Sorry.
Sometimes it's helpful just to know you're going there, even if you're going to continue going there. My, at least it's not a surprise for you that way. Might be a surprise for the other folks, but
Well, I'm not at the finish line of self-help and self-discovery and mental health. You know,
no
I'm
shit.
yeah, no shit. I am on the journey. I might be at the very early stages of the journey, but
No.
I recognize that I am on the journey. I have not completely mastered self-regulation of emotional states yet, but I'm
Okay.
on my way. I'm on my way.
Um, I lost it as recently as 18 hours ago.
Okay.
I'm not sure. It was yesterday afternoon. Whatever that comes up to, and so I went on a trip to Colorado. You knew about that, and
Uh-huh.
we'll talk about that.
That's on
But
the list of discussions.
on the way home, I was trying to fill up with gas, and this was a like you can I think you can kind of sometimes expect a like if it's a podunk gas station, you can probably expect their card readers not to work. I get
Yeah,
it. Like
sure.
they probably have to be maintained and things. But I generally choose my rest stops based on how clean they look, and like just like if they look modern. And I stopped at this gas station that looked pretty modern, and I was trying to get gas. And I generally 9 times out of 10 use my debit card. You know,
Uh-huh.
I'm not trying to use my credit card. And so I put it in, and it says insert and retrieve whatever. Take the card rapidly. So I try to take it, and it's clamped down. And I'm like, hey, motherfucker, I can't take it rapidly if it's clamped down. So I pull it out, and then it says swipe card. And there's nowhere to swipe the card because it's an insert. So I stick it in, I pull it out, and it says like if there's an option for debit or rewards. I'm like, I don't have any rewards. So I hit debit. Dude, I went through this thing probably 2 minutes, which felt like a really long time. As I say 2 minutes, it's maybe not that long, but it felt like a long time. And I'm like, you kidding me? So wheel around to the next one, did the same thing. I'm throwing my hands up. I'm looking inside like it's that guy's fault. Finally,
Are you doing this, asshole? Are you fucking with me out here?
Hey, did you test these pumps or what? So then I use my credit card and it works just fine. But yeah, for really, I mean, no reason. Like it took me an extra 3 minutes on an 8 hour drive or 7 hour drive. 3 minutes on an 8 hour drive probably not that big of a deal. I could probably, I could probably let some. Now, granted, traffic is passing. I'm losing ground. I'm losing my place in the pack. Like there are things happening.
Who are you losing to?
The universe.
Who are you on okay.
No.
There we go.
Actually, let me tell you this. I found that I do much better on 4-lane roads than I do 2-lane roads.
Yeah.
Like I really didn't, I'm kind of proud of myself. I didn't lose my mind on traffic. I don't think at all until, until I got like home, like in just outside the neighborhood. Then I kind of lost my mind a little bit, but yeah.
There you go. I was that's a healthy experience of at least recognizing it because yeah, like I said, no one's ever going to be fully complete, but there's a lot of you motherfuckers out there that don't even recognize you're losing your shit all the time, that don't even recognize that you have a limit, or that don't even recognize you're making a fool out of yourself. Um, yeah, I say that because I was in that state for the longest time, and I worked and had the same life and lived with a lot of people who I seen react like me, or sometimes much worse, and sometimes better. Um, I consider myself a B student in all things, B minus. And yeah, so at least now we're recognizing it. One time when I didn't recognize it, I was 24 years old. Yeah, 24 years old. So obviously already a master of the universe.
Already a problem.
Already. Um, I think I was a new E5. I was a new E5 petty officer second class at the training squadron. And what my shop did, this was not expeditionary or nothing like super sexy like that. This is what it's is really badass. But we were AOs. We would go take the bombs and load them onto the aircraft and the missiles and the bullets and everything. You have to wind the bullets into this big drum that's inside there. You have to lift everything manually. Most of the actually, I guess all of the bombs are put together by hand or by aviation ordnancemen one way or another on the boat. So like it's a very intensive process, and we have
what kind of risk is there? Like if you drop it, like is it gonna blow you up?
Theoretically, yes, but there's a ton of safety controls that have been built in there forever because you got to think, it goes back to the World War I days where they were picking up bombs and just dropping them out of the back of like the back seater was, or even the pilot was. That's how they bombed. And there was all kinds of safety. You can imagine all the safety mishaps that happened with that.
Yeah.
And so they've gone from that to now there's these smart bomb release units, and that's even now like 50, 60-year-old technology. But these bomb release units that, I mean, it's just all completely integrated. The fuse, the old mechanical nose fuses that we were using at the time aren't even around anymore. So there is a fuse that goes on the front of a bomb body. The bomb body is like a 500, 1,000, or 2,000 pound blank bomb body. We call it a dumb bomb. You just drop it. It has no guidance, no fuse, nothing like that. Probably wouldn't detonate even if you dropped it like in that state.
Okay.
It's about 45% explosive and 55% filler. So concrete, steel, whatever.
Okay.
But it's the case of the body, of the bomb body. Then there's a fin pack. There's all kinds of stuff on there. This is open source information. You can Google it. It's like on National Geographic. Um, there is some on some of them. There's these wings. So you got to put on like these. We call them shell packages. You got to put on a shell over the bomb where it'll have like these expanding wings. A
Okay.
lot of times there these fins, and there's two types of fins on Navy bombs, and those are retarded and non-retarded. And a retarded fin is one that opens up at a certain altitude, at a preset altitude, and will slow it down. So imagine like a low delivery. An F-18's coming in low over some Marines in contact in Fallujah. But he doesn't, this F-18 doesn't want the bomb to go off when he's right there. So
Yeah.
he'll drop it and then it slows and he can get the heck out of there while that bomb drops. And
Okay.
there's other parts like that too, like the fuse is part of that. A retarded tail fin will open up and slow. It will retard, which means slow. It'll slow its delivery, and non-retarded is just a smooth, fast fin. Anyway, we would build those bombs, and it's I'm very oversimplifying it. And anyway, AOs build both those bombs, and AOs also load those bombs onto the jets, like I said, missiles and bullets. And we have a flight schedule to go by because they've planned this flight schedule out weeks and sometimes months in advance. And they know like we have these four aircraft that are going to go off at 9:30 in the morning. And so we need we need it to be fueled. We need to make sure it's maintained. We need to make sure it has all the ordnance on it. Yada yada. Its batteries are charged. And so we're going to have these four aircraft. We need to have at least, ideally, you'd have four in reserve, but at least like two in reserve, because those are probably going to be wingmen that go out and you need a replacement for one of them, something
Okay.
like that. Uh, so we have this very strict flight schedule that we have to get to. And our part, everybody says this, but the AO shop, I think, is the hardest part because we have to build up these bombs, even training bombs. Like they're still, you got to build it up. Most of these are training. You got to build up these training bombs. You got to load up these training bullets. You got to load up the training missiles. And then when they come back, you got to offload them. And so sometimes they go out slick. These jets go out slick without any ordnance on it. Sometimes they have all kinds of different packages. So you're constantly, it's a very stressful job. Um, I was feeling, man, you want to be real introspective. I was feeling anxiety. I don't need to get too cheesy. I was going to say I was feeling anxiety of not like adding up, not being enough to the flight line. But
Yeah.
really, I mean, I was feeling like the performance pressure. I was feeling the pressure of the schedule. I was feeling the pressure. We're constantly being evaluated by our seniors. We're constantly being evaluated by our peers. It's not as serious as like an expeditionary unit, like the kind that I went to, but it's still the same mentality. Like, I'm
Yeah.
trying to make E6, baby. I'm trying to make the next rank. I'm trying to get a good eval. I'm trying to make this flight schedule smooth. I was at the computer one time trying to enter just some like plane numbers or whatever from the like to say what we did so master control knows that these jets are ready. And I couldn't, like, I was getting my numbers crossed and I was going off my memory. I didn't have everything written down like I should. And this chick behind me, who was my same rank, but she was in a position of authority, like she was like the team leader or whatever.
Uh-huh.
And we had, like, she obviously had been, whatever. I felt comfortable enough to lose it on her. You know what I mean? Like we had a
Okay.
relationship. She was like, Blackwood, I need you to go, or Blackwood, I need you to go do this maintenance. Blackwood, I need you to go do this. I'm like, okay, wait. Blackwood, I need to know if you're gonna blah blah blah. I'm like, God damn it, motherfucker, and like took off my and had a temper tantrum. Took off my cranial, my helmet, threw it on the ground. I was like, can you give me one goddamn second? And I've seen coworkers like my LPOs and stuff do similar situations. I didn't make this up out of nowhere. I've seen people do this.
Right. Right.
And she's like, whoa. Well, actually, there's long pregnant pause in the shop. Everybody's like, I see my Gunner Yeager looks so through the office. He's like, "What the fuck?" And she's like, "Whoa!" And then all of a sudden, the guys, like my chief and my LPO, stand up and come to her defense. They're like, "Hey, motherfucker, you need to calm your ass down." I'm like, "Oh shit!" And they're like, "And how about get at attention when we're talking to you?" I'm like, "That's right. I'm bad here. I'm. This is my fault."
Now, I've always had the perception that in the military you can get away with stuff like that obviously you wouldn't be able to get away with at say Walmart or
No, no,
Boeing
no, no, no.
or like is there leeway to kind of
There
lose
is
your mind on some things?
there is an appropriate place. Oh, dude, I don't want to get anybody in trouble, but allegedly, theoretically, I guess I've been smacked around whenever I've made bonehead mistakes. People get smacked around.
Yeah.
Theoretically, not maybe not trying to hurt you, but like, hey, dummy, this is a life and death situation. Smack on the head, or like, hey, get your shit together, and a smack on the cheek.
Yeah.
That there's you can see a version of that, but also, so I mean, this is very well documented. The Navy has gone past this, but culturally, I was at the very tail end of a long hazing phase in the Navy, in the military in general. But they've gotten away from this. I wouldn't consider this hazing now, but it's definitely illegal now, and will get you kicked out of the military. But we used to have, there's a couple guys like this. We used to have this one really dirty bird guy who lived in our berthing on the ship. And he just wouldn't bathe. He always had a cheesy pencil thin mustache. He was always reading like vampire romance novels. And he had, you know who I'm talking
Dude,
about.
that I had an idea, but once you said vampire romance novels, I was like, oh
Yeah.
yeah,
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 yeah.
I know exactly who you're talking about.
Dude, I'm not even gonna get into the grimiest aspects of this, but it was called a health and comfort inspection. Super, I mean, you can't, this would blow civilians' minds, but we just say, hey, dude, you stink. And he's like, no, I don't, whatever. And we're like, hey, like, get out of your rack. Your rack it's a bunk bed, but when you fold up the mattress, it has all of your earthly belongings in it that you brought on this ship. And this was on a deployment. Yeah, sure. I'll go ahead and say everything. I'll mark this episode explicit. Uh, so we're like, hey, dude, health and comfort, stand up. And so he
Now,
goes
does everybody in the what do you call that
in the
room? Like,
birthing,
so,
the
but
birthing.
everybody's getting it, or just you because you stink?
It can be everybody, but this time it was just you because you stink.
Okay.
And it's supposed to be leadership, but everyone else is in the birthing and they don't tell everyone else to leave. So, like, this is humiliating in front of your peers. Like, this on so many levels. Stand at attention. You know why we're doing this? Because you're getting complaints about your body odor. And guess what? I've noticed it too. And so now we're doing the health and comfort. Open up your curtains. Open up his curtains. His rack wasn't made, so they're like tossing his sheets. And these are his personal sheets. These aren't Navy issued sheets. These are sheets he brought. Grabbing
Okay.
these sheets, bundling them up, throwing them on the ground, grabbing his pillow, throwing it on the ground. This is an
Is it
E4. He
is
made
it
it in
like
an E5.
is it like obviously I've never been to boot camp, but you see videos of boot camp. Is it like that? Like is it that kind of a dressing down?
They're copying that, but it's like a fleet version. This is a real world version. There's a boot camp version where you're, and it's kind of the same thing, but it's not boot camp. This is the fleet. Like
Yeah.
this is what boot camp's getting you ready for. Um, yeah, standing at attention. They're kind of dressing him down. They're grabbing all of his stuff, throwing it out. And when they pick up his mattress, I'm not gonna get. There were hygienic products that he kept as souvenirs from his girlfriend that was also on the boat.
Excuse me while I barf.
And they found used.
Yeah, oh, I assumed that. I
and
assumed that.
and we found some of those, and so many
That
in the
might have been
berthing
the stink. That might have
had
been the
this.
issue.
You think it could have? It was definitely a piece of the puzzle. There's also like food wrappers. There's old banana pills back there. There's all kinds of shit.
Dang.
Like self-love tissues that are back there. We're like, dude, and
Ugh.
go. So then you have to like finish the humiliation process, the humiliation ritual of like taking the rest of his shit and throwing it down. And then this didn't happen in this situation, but it's happened in others. There's a version of that where they make you take a shower. They make you change your clothes and they make you take a shower. I mean, you're also talking about operations here. Like we're in the middle of the Persian Gulf. We can't, it's a liability. Like some of this stuff, you know what I mean, is
Yeah.
health, it's called a health and whatever, health and wellness inspection for that reason. But I've seen them force people, some people who were actively resisting, force them to take a shower, force them
Mm,
to derobe, force
mm.
them to throw their stuff away. That does not happen anymore. At least not that extreme. Definitely the shower version does not happen anymore. And if anybody were to ever ask me, I just made that story up. I don't know any
So,
details.
so today you could be on a ship and you could have those same issues and they would just let it go.
No, they just I mean, I have to assume leadership just has other ways. They're still doing health and wellness inspections. Like they're
Yeah.
still doing that and they're still holding their people to a standard. But man, I don't know how today's military works because just the I'm going to sound like grandpa, the political correctness environment that is in the military today was not in my military. It was
Yeah.
starting to come and there were versions of that. But
Mm.
yeah, I mean I mean there was no transgender, there was no open transgender people in the military when I was there. Now there are. What are you going to do with birthings in that situation? Like do you put this, obviously no judgment. It's just a logistical question. Do you put a transgender woman in a birthing with other women? I mean, I guess the super political correct answer would be yes, but they've done that in prisons and other female inmates have gotten pregnant from the transgender
So
woman.
do you would your concern be like a safety issue or like an appropriateness, or what would be the concern about
All
mixing them?
the same reason you don't mix any like there's no co-ed birthings to my knowledge. No like open birthings. There's no co-ed open birthings in the military or in the US military for that reason. That was in Starship Troopers. They had like co-ed showers and co-ed birthings. But no, because
Yeah.
they're 18, 19 to to 30 years old. Most people spend 20 the longest in the Navy that most people spend is 20 to 30 years. So you're having 18 to
50.
38. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's still lots of things going on, especially when you're deployed, for long
Yeah.
periods of time. You don't want that. That would obviously get in the way of operations.
Okay. Um, did you ever work with Skags? Does that name mean anything to you?
Yeah. Hawaii. Who told you that name?
Well, no.
I knew it. I was thinking of a skag from the
Different.
Navy.
Okay.
Yes, the skags you know. Yeah, I know skags.
Yes. Okay. So I'm only going to refer to him as his nickname.
Okay.
He was probably at most 5'2",
Yeah.
pretty small guy, kind
Stout
of
at
kind of
the end.
stout. Yep. Uh, did you ever see the movie Inside Out?
Yeah.
You know that little ball of fire, the
The
anger guy?
anger. Yeah.
That was Skaggs.
That is
So
skags.
I believe, I think he was in the Marine Corps. It might have been
He was
Army.
in
I
the
don't.
army. He was a
Army.
tanker. We
Okay.
talked about it.
Okay. So he used to tell a story, and I tend to believe him just because he was so volatile. Uh, he used to tell a story about he was in a tank, and whoever, I don't know if it was whoever was driving the tank or there was somebody else in the tank that wasn't doing their job, and he felt like was jeopardizing the rest of the crew in the tank. And his story is that he took him and threw him out of the tank, and they continued doing their operation. Now,
Was it a
I
training or deployment? It had to be training.
my understanding was deployment. Maybe it was a training. At least the way he told the story was like he was just so sick of this dude's shit that the guy was unsafe. He was doing this, he was doing that, whatever, and he just threw him out of the tank. Now, in my mind, I'm like, there's no way. There's no
Oh,
way that happened. But do you think do you think
there's
that's plausible?
definitely plausible.
Okay.
Um, Possible and plausible. Probable is the question mark. But the thing is, man, there's all kinds of crazy shit that happened. So I was thinking on a deployment, maybe, maybe not. But dude, I've seen guys getting fist fights on a like in a Humvee on an actual deployment where there's like we had just got there had just been a kinetic action, and afterwards they're driving home and it's like a fist fight breaks out.
Yeah.
So I could see something like that happening. Um, the thing is, you're throwing someone out around a tracked vehicle. People fall out of tanks and get crushed all the time. Like that
Mm.
is a real hazard. There are mounted and dismounted tactics involving tanks in the Army and I think in the Marine Corps too. But it's like their most dangerous evolution, one of the most dangerous evolutions that they do because they crush their people all the time, even in training. That
Mm.
people fall underneath tracks, slip in mud, fall down. Before you can get up, there's a tank, there's a track over you.
Mm.
Yeah.
Well,
Um,
the reason I ask is just because in any other environment, you would not
think
only
about
now,
someone doing that at FedEx.
yeah. Now again, I don't know when this was. This was probably I would guess in the early '90s, so probably the first Gulf War. I would guess just based on his age.
That could happen. That could have definitely happened back then, and it wouldn't have made the
Yeah,
news. Wouldn't have made a report. Nah.
and he wouldn't have gotten charged or court-martialed or kicked out or anything.
Well, it sounds like he was probably the vehicle commander or the tank commander in that tank. So
Okay.
no. And if he did have probably that person, like I imagine the story is he threw that person out and maybe that person got a ride on another tank or maybe just had to hoof it or whatever. But eventually that person's going to come back and he's going to dress him down and make him do something else and he's going to get back in the tank.
Yeah. So how do you recover from that, do you think? Like just think of your own personal ego.
I'm trying to figure that out, my friend.
Like let's say you're the dude. Maybe you
Oh,
fucked up, maybe you acknowledge it, maybe you
I,
stink, whatever it is.
I think it's a right. There's a lot of guys who have been that guy. I've been that guy
Yeah.
who've been
And
punished severely and like publicly.
humiliated.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. What's the
That's a part of
process?
boot camp. I think everyone goes through that even in boot camp. Like they'll
Okay.
find something to signal you out, so all eyes on you. Dude, this was in 2003. I was in boot camp and I was in a co-ed division. So half of my division was females and half of it was males. But the females had their own separate berthing. Every night, so we do like marching and PT and whatever learning during the day. And at night, we would have study sessions where we would be in, we called them our Smurfs, our blue sweatshirt and sweatpants. And we'd be studying for whatever test or exam, helping each other polish our boots, helping make sure our uniform's right. Well, we're all doing this together. We all had the study session in the male berthing. So the females would come over and we'd do the study session in the male berthing. Um, Unbeknownst to the females, our one female drill sergeant, we call them RDCs in the Navy, but for everyone to know, the one female drill sergeant was doing a health and wellness inspection on everyone's rack in the female berthing while the females were over in the male berthing studying. So
Okay.
we're like, it's 2003. We're all 18, 19-year olds. We're like trying to be, hey, I'm Clayton. My name's not Blackwood. It's actually Clayton, doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, boom, the door kicks open. I can't remember where she's from. I have to imagine she was from the South because she had a Southern accent. But this sassy black E6 female drill sergeant kicks open the door, holding up a pair of panties, and goes, "Guess who don't know how to clean themselves when they in the bathroom?" And everybody's underwear had your name and last four
Oh,
stenciled in it. So she throws it in the ground and she's like, I can't remember her name, but like, Williams. Williams don't know how to clean her ass whenever she's in the bathroom. She's like,
oh
listen.
man.
She's like, you got to pay attention to the details.
Is there a purpose to it? Do you think? Like, is it
It's
part of the
humiliation.
breaking, like part
Yeah.
of the breaking you down and the what do they call it? The
Rebuilding.
yeah, no, there's like specific thing where they like not brainwash, but
Well, conditioning,
yeah, I'm thinking of a term, but
training.
anyway, so but that's intentional.
Yes, yes, and
Okay.
it's I have to imagine they're not doing that today in 2025, but there's a version of that. Like there's the Shark Tank. You can go on YouTube and look up like Marine Boot Camp Shark Tank or whatever.
Dude,
Where
I watched those videos just for fun.
it's so anxiety because yeah, you're wait just one second. Can you hear me?
Yep, I got you.
You're standing at attention. You've done something. And like, I remember when it happened to me, he called me on my shave, and it was not my shave. Like, I had gone up, down, side to side. I was doing an inspection. We're all on an inspection in boot camp, and like, I was good, man. I went over everything with everyone, and my facial hair does grow fast. So as
Your regular hair grows fast. I keep seeing, dog.
Yeah, dude,
It wasn't like 2 weeks ago that your hair was.
it's touching my collar in the back.
Yeah. I see
Yeah, hell
you
yeah,
got
dude.
some hair coming down up through your hat.
Yeah,
I'm
hell yeah.
jealous. So jealous.
Well, I'm trying to get this Nutrafol to start working on top. We'll see how it goes. I'm
Let me
giving
know
it a
if it
long.
does.
Yeah.
Let me know if it does.
We were standing at attention. I was standing at attention, and it was another division's drill sergeants that were coming in to inspect us. So there's not whatever. There's no conflict of interest, but it's not conflict of interest. It's just a fresh set of eyes. They would do
Yeah.
that for each other. Like, you go inspect this division, I'll go inspect your division. Another division's drill sergeant, RDC, was in there inspecting us, and he had been going like laying into everyone, almost like, "What's this on your shirt?" And when they look down, his like knife hand goes up and hits him in the face, like, "Boom, dummy! What I told you never stand. You're supposed to be at attention. You don't look down when I'm talking to you." Like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And but it's not one, it's like four RDCs in your face. You gonna look at him? You making a fist? You think you're gonna fight him? No, no, petty officer, no petty officer. Yes, chief. Yes, no petty officer. Yes. And they're like, oh, what do you think? You don't know what you're talking about.
Since he don't know who he's talking to.
And so, like in the Marine, we didn't have it in the Navy, but in the Marine Corps, they were wearing those campaign caps, and
Yeah.
we had versions of that. Well, they'll come in and just like purposely put the bill on your forehead and move your head. Stop
Yeah.
moving, motherfucker! And they're moving your head.
Yeah.
That's made so you think, okay, I'm not in control. And
Okay.
when I am in control on my own, I fail. The only way for me to succeed in this evolution is for me to a not everybody gets this, but this is the goal. For me to a realize that I don't know what I'm doing. I have to learn in order to pass this, and I can't do this on my own. I like in order to get through this evolution, I have to use not just one other person, a group of people. People that I don't like, people that I don't look like, people that I'm not from the same part of the country they're from, whatever. That's what that's for. Is to teach you like, okay, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know everything. I have to learn, and I have to depend on other people to do it.
Indoctrination is the term I was thinking of.
Sure, yeah.
Like that's part of the indoctrination process. Did did you know any of those guys on a personal level?
In boot camp,
Yeah, well, or have you known any since then?
I didn't keep up with anyone, man. It's funny because the I mailed one guy for a little bit, like it's back when we were writing letters for correspondence. Um, but I lost touch with him. There were a couple Filipino guys that was I was actually really close with in my division because back then I think they stopped this around that time. But back then I don't know if the Philippines were considered a U.S. territory, but they were recruiting Philippine citizens into the U.S. military, like on a pretty regular basis. When I
Okay.
came in, a lot of master chiefs, a lot of senior chiefs, a lot of like lieutenant commanders and commanders were people from the Philippines.
Okay.
They, there were a couple Filipino dudes. I call them pogies. They're like that's like Tagalog for cool guy or homie, kinda. Like, hey,
Okay.
pogi, pogi, alika, yeah, hey, homie, come here. That's how you get someone to like get you a pack of cigarettes or something when you're over there. Hey, pogi. Uh, but no, I never kept in contact with any of them. I thought I was going to.
I wonder. What I'm wondering is if you knew them, any of them personally, was like, I wonder if they ever have like somebody like you, like you're a cool dude, they like you, but they got to give you shit. So like, I'm just gonna rip you up one side, down the other. But it's in, I'm not mad at you. I actually like you, but I gotta go off on you.
Oh yeah. Oh, you mean and like lose it on you?
Well, no, I guess I just mean like I wonder if like these drill instructors, if they're ever just losing their absolute shit on somebody that in reality, like they like this dude. Like
Oh yeah.
you're a good guy.
I
Like this is
guarantee you that happens. My buddy Ray, who you've met, who should be on the podcast sometime, um, he was an RDC. I think that was one of his last gigs in the Navy, or it wasn't his very last gig, but it was his second to last gig in the Navy. Was he was pushing boots up in Great Lakes,
yeah.
and yeah, no one takes it personal. They don't remember your name. They don't remember your face. There's hundreds of kids coming through on every single division. They do like 2 or 3 divisions a year. They don't. I reached out to one of my drill sergeants. Wasn't YN. I know she made chief after I left. It wasn't YNC Williams. It was BM2 who retired as a chief. I reached out to him and he was like, "Sorry, buddy, I don't remember you at all." I'm like, really?
Uh,
You like cussed me out? And he made fun of me because I was reading the Bible. I would lead devotions. I was our division's religious petty officer. I would escort everyone to the appropriate chaplain service. So like if you're a presbyter, or if you're whatever, I would match you up for your chaplain service on Sunday. You get to go to chapel, and so I was in charge of that. He caught me reading the Bible one time. Caught me. It wasn't. It wasn't. That's supposed to be reserved for Sundays, and he caught me doing it on like a Wednesday, and he was like, "Blackwood, yes, petty officer." He's like, "What's your favorite verse in the Bible?" And I got emotional and started crying about Psalms 91. Such
yeah.
a such a nerd. I was like, because it made me think of
No.
back home. It made me
Yeah,
think of
no,
Taekwondo.
there's nothing wrong with it.
Oh, thank you.
You can get it, you can get emotional.
Especially about Psalms 91. The Lord is my shepherd; I shall not want. No, not that. That's not Psalms 91. He who dwells in the secret place of the Most High shall
Yeah.
abide in
Bro,
the shadow of the Almighty.
I've got that tattooed on my arm. Psalm 91:12. Boom.
So I got emotional and I started crying. He was like, drop. And I was like, I wasn't even able to finish giving my thing, but I started crying. He's like, stop it, drop. And so like I remember that now, 20 plus or 24 years later, whatever, and it's still he didn't remember it. I was like, don't you
Yeah.
remember me? He's like, no, sorry.
I feel like
Okay.
I would probably have to give a little wink after I
Yeah.
just totally dress someone down. Just give a okay.
We've been talking for 49 minutes.
Holy shit.
How about that? I don't know if it's been quite 49 minutes. We started a little bit late. But how about that original Sinfluencer episode?
That was so fun.
Wasn't it?
So yeah, that was so cool. One of the I was listening to it with my brother yesterday because he was out in Colorado with me and I took him to the airport. And so we were listening to it from the Airbnb to the airport. And like it was such a cool moment when T-Bone was like, "Hey, I want to be mindful of your time. Like, we might need to let you go." And he was like, "Oh man, I'm good." Like I felt so validated. Like, man, it made me feel like he was having as much fun as I was having.
Yeah, it definitely seemed that way.
It was just a cool hang, you know?
It sure was, man. And I get this, like sometimes I get it and sometimes you don't. But like even at a birthday party, when you're at a little kid's birthday party or maybe at like a t-ball game, I have a tendency to like either I'm always focusing on my kids and my family. Sometimes I'll talk to people, but a lot of times I'm kind of just closed off. Like I got my barriers up. I definitely always think no one knows how I feel and no one thinks like I think. No one's blah, 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 blah. No one has these same thoughts I do. But dude, sometimes you open up to like a dad at a birthday party and you find out, oh shit, homie, we think exactly the same. Or we're right there parallel.
Yeah. Did you feel that with him?
I definitely have felt that with Original Sin. He is just a different lane. It's something, especially kind of following, mine and your personal theme. You, I think, are or have been. I could have been a youth pastor. I was planning on going into the ministry if I didn't go into the military as a teenager. I
Yeah.
was like 17.
I went to Bible college for a year because I believed I was going to be a missionary to street kids in Brazil.
Yeah. So it's different, which is kind of cool. He wasn't raised in the church like we were, but he was exposed to it at a young, formative age, and he latched onto it. That was another thing that was cool is he didn't have, for lots of reasons, he didn't have necessarily all of the same exact type of baggage that we did, but he had his own separate type of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
It was kind of funny that if I recall right, he turned to religion more out almost out
as
of
like
a
rebellion.
rebellion.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Which,
I think
is
he
kind of
said that.
opposite of, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's total opposite. And so that's even validating even more when you think like, okay, I was raised in this and I have all this trauma. That's why I have all these negative feelings toward Western evangelicalism. Maybe my experience isn't like everyone else's experience. This must be because I was, literally born, like I was born with a preacher praying over me because whatever. I'll talk about that sometime later. But like when I came out of my mom, there was a preacher there praying for me. When I the group home and all this formative stuff in my year, the church was a part of it. Maybe that's why I have this not hate, but these negative feelings toward the Western evangelicalism. And then you realize, oh no, he had a totally different path. He came into it and as a teenager, almost as an act of rebellion. He wasn't baptized into it like I was. He got into it much later, and we still found the problems. We
Yeah.
still found the he comes from the West Coast. He's a liberal. I'm from the Midwest West or whatever. I was raised a dyed in the wool Republican, like hardcore Republican. We're not the same, but we both got to the same place. So that tells me I'm not crazy. And
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
it's not because I have hurt feelings or it's not a temper tantrum. Like, oh no, this is valid. There's
Yeah.
some valid problems I had with it. And that was cool to see that with him too.
Yeah. It was funny. It's funny to me when I meet somebody or listen to somebody who has been super impactful to me,
Hmm.
and they'll say something like, I genuinely, I didn't think this would reach anybody. I didn't think that this would help anybody or that anybody would listen. And you're like, are you kidding me? Dude, this is gold. Like you really thought that this wouldn't impact anybody? Like, especially with his music. Like he was talking about some of
Yeah.
the songs he's written. He's like, I did it for me. And you're, I don't know. I guess it reminds me or surprises me just how influential you can be without even knowing it.
Yes. Yes. And, for good or worse, for better or for worse, our reach has expanded. I mean, think about like in the 80s and the 90s or even early 2000s, you never saw what your Aunt Betty in Colorado was having for dinner. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You never
Yeah.
really cared about her political opinion on immigration because you you,
Yeah.
you never had to hear about it. You didn't care about what music she wanted to bring back and her opinion on whatever. But now, and I'm just as guilty as everyone, I think I'm I want to start threading back on that, but in a way, like I give myself excuses because I need it for professional stuff. But anyway, the effect of social media was not around for Aunt Betty's generation, but
Yeah.
we got it now,
Yeah. For better or worse, like you said.
for better or for worse. So everybody's reach is a lot further. So which is empowering, and like that's a double-edged sword. It's not all good, but it's definitely not all bad. Like I said, for better for worse. uh People are going to know how I feel about things because of the memes I post. And that's
Yeah.
why people unfollow this podcast because we're real as shit.
What?
I know.
We don't actually have unfollow. Like that's got to be an accident, right?
It's a very
Maybe they
very
maybe they just kind of fat fingered it. They meant to say like extra follow and they accidentally hit unfollow.
you know what it could be? Maybe someone has deconstructed from Lawless. Actually, a couple dozen people have already deconstructed from Lawless.
Well, that's okay though, because our goal, our
That's
job
right.
is to raise people up
Raise
and
awareness. Yeah.
give them wings to fly.
Amen.
And I say this kind of tongue in cheek, but the truth is that if it still works for you, by all means, like more power to you. If it works for you and if it gives you what you need and if you find value in it, then I ain't trying to force anybody's hand. If you're
Yeah.
not ready to deconstruct or if you don't want to deconstruct, go.
Well, yeah, and the thing is too, like it's funny because this is gonna piss people off, or I not piss people off, but some people are gonna theologically disagree with this, and I get it. But like where I am right now, person who's holding on to those dogmatic beliefs is refusing to accept the science or refusing to accept the evidence or whatever, I don't want to push my judgment on you. You're right. Like whatever you think is right. If you think there's a Sunday school version of heaven and hell and there was 7-day creation and there was a talking snake and there was a flood and it's okay, all these things are okay or whatever, like if you're all right with all that, you're right. If you want to say I'm wrong, you can say that. Like you're right with that too. It's all right. It's okay. I'm no longer. We talked about that on there. I talked about it a little bit on it, but like the freedom of acceptance that comes with deconstruction is also accepting people who disagree with you. Like, oh, you disagree with me? That's fine. I disagreed with me 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, that's a good point, because I don't know that from a casual observation, I don't know that it's readily obvious just how important it is to be right all the time.
All the time.
In evangelical mainstream Christianity. Like you can't afford to be wrong about a lot of things.
Well,
Your soul, your eternity is at stake.
Yeah.
So you can't be wrong.
Man, I don't want to misattribute it, but I heard it recently. Is it called Milton's Gamble? Or there was like some church father, they called it his gamble, but of like, you should be a Christian because if you're right and there's nothing afterlife, well, what does it hurt? You live to be a good person. But if you're wrong, then it's the fire insurance.
Yeah.
It's fire insurance. If you're wrong, you need to be saved from hell. Well, man, and even still, it gives me anxiety sometimes when I think about that. But there is not the American Western evangelical version of hell that I grew up with. That's not in the Bible. That was put there by manipulators, knowingly or unknowingly. Also, even the versions of hell that are in the Bible, I don't think the Bible is a historical document. I definitely don't think it's an accurate document.
Right.
And anything that is in there, it was not written to me. It was not spoken to me about me by anyone that would even know, would comprehend, would imagine that I existed. It was not written for me. So the boogeyman of hell is not what compels me to be a good person. And that would shock some people. I don't know about shock, but as a Christian, it's kind of weird because there's that mentality of like, I can't afford to be wrong. There's this, what's the word you would use it like, where it's all or nothing, almost like a fascist idea, but you have to believe in hell. Like, oh my God, you don't believe in hell? Well, that's what God came to save us from. That was the whole purpose.
Yeah. I'm listening to a book right now by a guy that I would love to have on the pod sometime, Brian Recker. And the name of the book is Hellbent. And I think probably about halfway through. And he said something yesterday in the book that I thought was interesting. I've experienced it a lot. When I first started thinking outside the traditional boundaries, and I started really kind of critically thinking about hell and about the doctrine of hell and all that kind of stuff, when I would talk to people, the most common response was, well, then why be a Christian?
Yeah.
Well, then why should I, quote unquote, get saved if I'm just going to go to heaven anyway? And even back then I thought, well, then I think you're missing it. If like even
that is
even
not the point.
Yeah. Like the point, even if hell exists, the point isn't to avoid that. The point, I thought, was to experience heaven, or at least as close as you could get to heaven here on earth. But I think that, well, no, I found that a lot of people believe in hell. They have to believe in hell just so that the other people get what's coming to them. Mm-hmm. And so that I have a reason to not do the things I want to do. Because if it's just me, just denying myself every fleshly, every sinful pleasure, but we're both going to the same place, well, then what's the point in denying myself? Except for the fact that you missed the point. The point in denying yourself is that's the heaven.
I think that's where the Eastern philosophies and theologies, specifically Buddhism, and Buddhism came from an Hinduism, and so they have parts of it too, and like a couple other Eastern theologies and philosophies, but of like, don't worry. And even Jesus said this: don't worry about the future. Don't worry about heaven. Don't worry about hell, homie. You need to concentrate on right now because your anxieties, your depression, your monkey mind is gonna kill you right now, and it's
Mm.
already making the hell for you right now. You can live in heaven right now, or you can live in hell right now.
Yeah.
And that's not 20 years from now. That's not based on these rules that I follow, not because I follow them, but because of the order my life is. When I'm aligning myself with God or what I call God, is just a name of a metaphor that encompasses all space-time reality or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, when I'm aligning it with them, that's the virtue that the Greeks called temperance and wisdom, courage, justice, temperance. Those were all four of those virtues encompass when I'm wise, courageous, just, and temperate, which I guess it would be like when I'm in balance, when I'm in harmony, that's when I'm in heaven, homie. That's
Mm-hmm.
when my life is going good. When I'm
Mm-hmm.
not is when I'm in hell. When I'm struggling, I've been in hell, struggling with addiction, struggling with my own hell that I created
Yeah.
from the hurt that I put other people through to my own, my own. It always comes back to me. That hell, just like the Bible says, was made by me. It was my sin that sent me to that hell.
The wages of sin is death. I
Is
still believe
death.
that. I
It
still believe that.
absolutely is.
Now, here's a question for you. And actually, let me. How would you, with your current beliefs and experience, maybe knowledge, how would you define sin now?
Oh, anything that separates you from your best. Yeah, anything that separates you from the best. But it's not, I don't think it's as black and white as like smoking a cigarette. The reason smoking a cigarette can be a sin is because it can kill you. If your idealized life, if you're the perfect version of yourself is a marathon runner or in someone who wants to live to be 95 and like this epitome of health, like if that is your goal to be like the super disciplined, super whatever, like it would be a sin for Jocko Willink to smoke a cigarette. For Jocko Willink to smoke a cigarette and to eat a cheeseburger, that would separate him from God, from heaven. That would keep him away from his heaven. Now, it's a path. Oh, I was trying to throw in there, and it doesn't fit anywhere. But the middle path, I want to talk about that again. I think. Oh, you said
Yeah.
it. The middle
Yeah.
path,
Yeah.
I think, would be. I was listening to some more on that on Don Don Miguel Ruiz, or the guy who wrote
Oh, the four loves?
the four agreements and the four
Yeah.
loves,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
the four agreements.
Okay.
He talks about the middle path. I'm like,
Okay.
that's right, the middle path. If you're on, Jocko calls it the path of like extreme ownership and extreme discipline, blah blah
This,
blah blah
yeah.
blah. If that's your heaven, then anything that separates you from that is sin. That's not my heaven. That's not my God, and that's not my goal. Definitely be part of it, but man, right now, my heaven is less ex- less incidents of losing my anger with my family. Anger management is my heaven. Um, Stability in all aspects for my family. So like our physical health, our family includes me, but I'm looking out for my household. Our financial health, our physical health, whatever. If I were to do anything, and I there's also a balance, but if I were to do anything that gets in the way of our financial health, if I were to recklessly rack up a lot of credit card debt or go finance something stupid, that would be a sin against my family. That would be separating me from heaven, my heaven here. Um, I yeah, whatever.
Is it possible? Is it possible for anything other than personal sin? to exist? Like, is it possible for me to say, like, you've done something, whatever it is, for me to say that's sin? Or is that only, can I only say that about myself? Like, for me to do this, that was
But what if
sin.
you sin against another? So like what if it doesn't matter what your heaven is?
Hmm.
What if you break into my house? You are then sinning against me. You're also
Well,
you might be separating yourself from heaven.
I, I, I tend to, I think I draw a line between an offense and a sin. And I think the reason for that is because sin has the connotation of you've offended a supernatural, you've offended the supernatural, or you've broken a, I don't want to say society because that changes. You've broken some sort of an agreement that we have, an agreement that my house is sacred, my belongings belong to me, whatever. And so to break that, to violate that, you've committed an offense against me. I don't know that I would be comfortable calling that a sin.
So what if we have these rules that we all agree on to keep our society functioning? So imagine,
I I guess we have to pause and say that most of us agree on them because I don't know
yeah,
that we all agree on them. Okay.
right, right. But like if you want to say we're out in a desert and we all depend on each other and we're a band of nomadic people and when we're coming out of the Stone Age, we're coming out of whatever ancient age there is. And so we're coming from theoretically caveman lawlessness, where lawlessness, even though that probably wasn't the case with there's
Yeah.
probably very advanced societies, but theoretically, you're coming out of lawlessness into a society. You want to start forming these rules, like I guess
Order.
yeah, order. You want to start I mean, and where they all point to is Mesopotamia and the age of agriculture. Like that's where we transitioned from hunter gatherers to aggregates or whatever. Aggregators. I don't think that's the word. Um,
Alligators.
alligators. We transitioned from hunter gatherers to alligators, our rightful place.
And that's where we really start fucking shit up.
Yeah. Uh, you say, hey, we can't be stealing from people. If you want to live here, you can't take someone's stuff without permission. Tom did that to Jerry last week, and it caused a real mess. We do not want a
Mm-hmm.
repeat of last week. So guess what? We got these rules, and this rule comes from you know who.
And that's the problem. That's my
That's the
problem. But go
problem.
ahead. Yeah.
Well, so yeah, but man, in a way, aren't they still right? I guess it depends on what it is because I think the only laws that should exist are laws that protect people's property and themselves. So like I think
Okay.
people should only be arrested for violating someone's person or their property. Like I don't think there's victimless crimes. I don't think victimless crimes should send you to prison, like smoking or whatever.
If it's a victimless, then it shouldn't be a crime.
That's what I
Is what you're
think.
saying.
I think that applies in my mind to that desert society. So, but you're gonna have guys and you're gonna have people that remember the old chimpanzee ways of where you can pick up a club and smash. Tom can smash Jerry and get his cheese anyway, you know.
Yeah.
And so, in order for us, like we can't beat that out of our culture. So now we have to scare it out of our culture. And the way that we
Right.
scare it is to say
Right.
the scary fire guy upstairs, and we make these stories. He's already killed 2/3 of us when we came
Yeah.
from this land that we were whatever.
Yeah.
He already killed 2/3 of us, and they enslaved us because they hated us. Like you have to
Hmm.
build up this big scary monster to stop Tom from beating up Jerry whenever he wants his cheese. And
Okay.
so, I mean, and that's how this all has worked out in our particular theological lineage. But you can see some other paths too. Like I don't necessarily see that in the Bhagavad Gita.
But do you think it's safe or not safe? Do you think it's fair to say, is it for us to interpret what offends this great mystery or this power, or we would say God? Like, is it up to us, or do we even have the ability to determine that?
Well, I think, we have the luxury of looking at that in 2025 as deconstructed, intelligent, life experience, you know what I mean? Western people. Like, we don't have to depend on these rules for our society to function anymore. You and I don't, Justin and Clayton. But if we were in that desert tribe and I was Jerry's brother and I wanted Jerry to stop getting beat up or whatever, I would buy off on these rules are from the universe in order to make the universe function properly. So, and I'm calling that universe God. These
Okay.
rules are from God in order for my desert to survive, in order for my brother Jerry to survive Tom's vicious attacks. I'm gonna buy off on this needs to, and it's not gonna be conscious, but at least that reinforces it because I need it. Today we don't need it. Like, you and I can be good people without the fire insurance, without being afraid to go to hell, and we're proving that. But maybe I guess what I'm saying is maybe back then, it like yeah, we're back then it was necessary. Today it maybe not.
I feel like it's surely got a function, it's got a place in society. But I think I'm just at the point where I can no longer say anything that you do is sin because that's none of my business. What I can say is if I did that, then that would be sin because that violates my connection with my true self or my whole self or
Hmm.
my connection to what I perceive God is. But I
Yeah,
can't say, hey, my neighbors across the way, they did such and such last night. Ooh, they're sinners because
yeah,
it's not for me. Even if they did something to me, I don't think I could say that that's sin. I could say that's annoying, that's offensive, that whatever is it's negative. I wish they hadn't done it. But I just don't have the position. I don't think I've got the authority to say that it's quote unquote sin. And maybe that's just because it's entirely possible that I just have kind of like I have issue with the word God. I have issue with the word sin just because of the connotations,
hmm,
because of
yeah.
the baggage.
Well, it kind of reminds me of like the American experiment. Like, I understand now that it's more complex than my like neo-libertarian fantasy of how government should work. Like, I couldn't flip a switch and get rid of all victimless crimes tomorrow. Like, that would take a lot of work. If I was or if I was a policymaker, if all of the policymakers were libertarians overnight, even then they couldn't flip a switch and change the Constitution to bend toward, that particular philosophy. It takes a lot of time. But in the 13 colonies, and even like, I don't know, definitely pre 9/11 and maybe pre-World War One, America was largely, whether they recognized or not, what we would call a libertarian society of like isolation, closed off, very egalitarian. There was definitely problems. Like, we were just getting over a civil war based on owning of humans and treating them as property, and that mentality was still alive. But before World War One, what I'm getting at is I think that dogmatic belief of libertarianism would have worked there. But now America has grown into such an international country with world influence and world economy and all these world policies to where it doesn't solve all of the problems. Now, you would have to take you would have to revert back to a somewhat of an isolation country in order for these philosophies to even take hold. That reminds me of the need for dogmatic religion. Like, back in 1775,
Mm.
a dogmatic religion was probably helped society a lot and probably was pretty beneficial. I'm not going to say it was great. Like, we know there were Salem witch trials. We know that there was still religious persecution and lots of disgusting things done. But in the grand scheme of things, it was a net positive. Today in 2025, it's not even possible for us to be that almost theocracy that we were back then.
So do you think that like was that necessary for our evolution? At least
Yeah,
for our societal evolution?
absolutely.
It was necessary or at the very maybe it wasn't necessary, but at least was it's what brought us here today.
You don't have America without the Mayflower. And the Mayflower was a religious experiment. You know what I mean? Those were
Was
those were
was it?
religious refugees. Yeah, they were Puritans escaping. At least, like the most of them, they brought slaves. They brought some hired guns. They brought some lawyers and politicians. They were planning on setting up a society here, but they were Puritans that escaped from England to Sweden or yeah, one of this to Denmark maybe, but they first escaped from Sweden to or from England to Sweden and then from Sweden to America. And it was for religious reasons. They thought the Church of England was too secular.
Now I may be confusing things, but I've got a good friend of mine that runs a podcast, hosts a podcast called Exhibit A, and he talked about the Mayflower not long ago. I I think I seem to remember you talking about though that it was, or it was maybe
It wasn't
the,
just that.
but it was that would you think that was a major part of it?
Oh, definitely. I think it might have been control. It might have been controlled. There might have been definitely other ulterior motives. Like there were rich Englishmen that helped finance the Mayflower because a lot of these pilgrims, Puritans got broke. They went from England to Sweden. I want to say like Luxembourg or something, but they went from England to the Swedish to Sweden and got poor because it was expensive there. They couldn't find good jobs. And so that's like part of the story. They became very destitute. Like they lost a lot of their belongings just going from England to Sweden. And then from Sweden to the United States, they couldn't afford it. So they had to get English finance. And in order, so there were some not religious motivated financiers that backed it. And a lot like the Virginia company that was supposed to take the Mayflower to Virginia. Some say, like, there's theories that it purposely landed in Cape Cod or instead of, or Plymouth Rock, whatever, instead of Virginia because they wanted to settle northern. Like it was part of a corporate. They had a corporate agenda for it, and there was a religious control. There was a political agenda. There was all these big boogeyman agendas, but like if you were to ask a Puritan on the boat on the Mayflower, why are you going here? Because England is so sinful, and I don't want to raise my children in that squalor. We're going to go make a new heaven or
So
new
do you
Eden.
think was there some maybe manipulation? Do you think on from the people in charge to the Pilgrims to the Puritans? Maybe they felt like they were like I can picture it today. Maybe a little bit with some of our politics where you've got leaders that don't really believe the things they're saying, but they stir up.
Ted
They
Cruz.
stir up. Okay, yeah. So he doesn't believe what he's saying, but he's saying it to get a response and to get you to do something or to believe something or to vote a certain way.
Well,
Do you
all
think that
this,
was happening?
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and it was done at a different scale, but yeah, it's the same thing. Ted Cruz, well, because he got exposed by Tucker Carlson months ago as accepting over $1 million from APAC and being a spokesperson for APAC, has been on a nonstop attack campaign against Tucker Carlson ever since then. Ted Cruz has been on X and Twitter or whatever. Um, every single thing that Tucker Carlson does to criticize the government of Israel, Ted Cruz will repost and say Tucker Carlson is a Nazi sympathizer. Tucker Carlson is anti-Semitic. Tucker Carlson, now he said he's like anti-capitalist and anti-whatever. Ted Cruz is saying lies, things that he knows is not true, in order to go after a political rival. That was absolutely happening back then. There was manipulation from political government figure or from governmental leaders of these religious people in order to sway them to do their bidding. Like they weren't supposed to
Okay.
go to Plymouth Rock; they were supposed to go to Virginia, and instead, probably that captain absolutely knew where he was going. And oh no, we went to this different place. We ran out of gas, so
Oh well, what are we
I
gonna do?
guess we better stay here. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
probably what happened.
I saw, I don't know what it was, but somewhere on I-70, I saw a sign that had Tucker Carlson and somebody he was endorsing. And it said something like, not Tucker Carlson, Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz and someone he was endorsing. And it said, Ted Cruz believes so and so is the right man for the job or something like that. And I was just thinking, like, it's obviously propaganda, but I was just thinking, yeah, it's the gross. It's such a gross vibe.
Yeah, that makes me not like whoever is on that
Whoever it
billboard.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have, and I don't remember. It kind of didn't work because I have no idea who was on it except for Ted Cruz. And my immediate gut reaction was, yeah, if I was voting in this state, it wouldn't be for that guy.
It wouldn't be for that guy. That's right. Ted Cruz is a liar and a manipulator and is bought and paid for by foreign government officials.
Hey, that's a great segue
Sure.
into global events, global happenings,
Happenings, that's
news
right.
stories. What's happening in the globe?
Do we have a sound effect for public or for current events? Current
Yeah,
events.
yeah, we do.
Oh, yes. We got to get some miles on that. Don't forget we have
Hey, we've also got this one.
Oh, yeah. Keep that one going.
I'm not sure what. Hey, maybe I could just turn that down while you give. I could have that going in the background. I wonder if that would work.
Yeah. Yeah, do it. Hit it.
Okay, I'm going to try that, and then you can lay on us just some things that we can talk about.
For sure.
Let's see here. And don't mind me. I'm just going to be jamming. Oh shit!
Dang it. There we go. Can you fade it? Can you fade it just a bit?
Let me try.
I don't even need to fade it. This
Yeah,
has got
just
to be
talk.
protected. Can I? Is this protected? This isn't like.
I don't think so. I'm gonna have to figure
Tonight
out.
the music seems loud. I wish that I could.
I'm gonna have to. I'm gonna have to work on that. Figure out how I can bring it down a little bit so you can talk over it. But that'll be for in the next episode. We'll have that. Which, by the way, real quick before we get into current events, as of last night, we are on TikTok.
Oh.
Now, just a little caveat: you can only have 30 characters in the name.
Okay.
So our TikTok account is just Lawless Podcast.
Okay.
Okay. So our friends out here are just going to have to know that Lawless Podcast on TikTok is Lawless with Clayton and Justin on Facebook and the other socials.
We're gonna get that link and we'll put them in every single pod. Oh, by the way, did you note before we get to current events? Did you see my write up on Spotify of the original Sinfluencer? Dude, I'm putting so much effort into these descriptions, and I feel like it's not getting noticed.
Well, one thing I noticed was the tone of voice you just took with me, and I didn't like it.
Okay.
So I just want to put that out there.
Sure.
I didn't like your tone.
Right.
I've moved past it. I'm okay with it. What are you talking about? The write up. What do you mean?
I'm putting a very thoughtful description into these episodes, and I'm even putting timelines out there. Yes.
Did you write the description on the last one that seemed remarkably like AI?
It was polished with AI. I said, hey, these are the things that I want to say. This is what I'm thinking. And it gave me like different, it's in my editor. I treat it as my editor.
Okay.
I even, don't you dare.
I laughed at it. I was like, oh, this is funny. But then I was like, wait a second. Was this supposed to be funny?
So I used chat to make the timeline for me. I gave it the script with the timestamps. I was like, make me a timeline that I can put in my this thing. I said, throw in some emojis here and there. I did. Okay. I said, this is my idea for the description. Give me 3 different options or 3 different versions of this. And it did it. Yeah. I'm putting surveys in these descriptions. I'm putting a lot of heart and soul.
Can I just say that since we've now expanded from just YouTube and Facebook, I listen on Apple. I don't. The only reason I go to Spotify is if it's a show that's only on Spotify. So is that description also on the Apple podcast or just that one, just on Spot?
Yeah, it is. It follows my RSS. I distribute my RSS feed through Spotify. So everything I put on Spotify should be on Apple, should be on iHeart, should be on Amazon, should be on whatever. Okay.
Well, I appreciate the effort that you've put in, and I'll start consuming it. I'll start paying attention to it.
No need. You know what I mean?
No, let me in. Let me in. I want to play.
Okay. I'm going to give you 3 stories, and we'll go from there. You pick.
My
We can.
favorite.
I have a Ukrainian company. It's actually two different Ukrainian companies.
Do
Were
you know what
rec-
one of my do you know what one of my favorite first off, my favorite thing to do is interrupt you. My
yeah.
second favorite thing is when you giggle about things that probably shouldn't be giggled about.
Oh,
And
my
I
wife
have
said that that's not a good thing. She said I need to stop doing
uh,
that.
Ashley, you're wrong because it makes me smile. So I don't know what you're about to say about Ukraine, but I feel like let's just find out. We'll
Okay.
determine if the giggle was appropriate or not. Go ahead.
Okay. Multiple Ukrainian companies have been discovered selling avionics equipment, so drone pieces like altimeters, barometers, things like that, things these drones need to operate, to uh, the government of Iran. Ukrainian
Okay.
Ukrainian defense companies that were stood up by American tax dollars, our American tax dollars, all started by the CIA's overthrow of a democratically elected government in Ukraine, was the money that we're paying Ukraine is now going to Iran. And Iran is going to these drone pieces that are being sold to Iran. Iran are using these drone pieces to build drones, and they're selling them to Russia. And Russia is using these drones to fight Ukraine.
Okay.
This is not a theory. This is not a conspiracy. This was discovered.
Okay.
We can talk about that.
Okay.
Cash Patel, I think either just returned or maybe is still in China. He just had a meeting with President Xi Jinping, and his cabinet about the precursors of fentanyl. And in in the Chinese economy, every company is at least partially owned by the government. That's part of their
Okay.
communist setup. So these Chinese companies, which is also by implication the Chinese government, is selling and have been for a while. You and I knew about this when we were interdictors. They're giving these fentanyl precursors to Mexican drug cartels, and drug cartels are making fentanyl with these precursors and sending it up to Wichita or to wherever your town is. Wherever you're listening to this, there's fentanyl from China there. Cash Patel went over there to ask them to stop, and I don't know if they agreed to, but they say like it's a very positive meeting that they're having over there. I want to compare that our treatment of China selling like the number one killer narcotic in the U.S. I want to compare that to our treatment of Venezuela, who is not shipping these narcotics, and even if they are, it's a very minuscule amount compared to Mexico, compared to these mountain of precursors that China's given. So that compared China to Venezuela. Third option is it's going to be a twofer. It's going to
Okay.
be the federals' war on legal, the federal government, the federal government's war
The
on legal,
federales.
the federales, their war on legal THCA. I'm talking about Delta 8, THCA, THCP, the legal versions of THC, partnered with Sedgwick County Sheriff's Office
Mm,
war on legal THC. We don't have to talk about
man.
Sedgwick County Sheriff particular, but it's been in the news.
Yeah, I saw it yesterday. I
Yeah.
saw it yesterday. I want to talk about that, but I want to leave out the Sedgwick County aspect of it.
Okay, we can do that.
Simply because of the the people that are still involved with it, and a lot of them are
Oh, we don't have to
good.
talk about the people, but we can
No, no,
comment
no.
on the.
I'm just saying that the people involved, many of them are still very good friends, and I don't want to have a conversation that they can't be a part of.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
But yeah, the overall, now it's probably going to get me worked up, and it's probably going to make me
Blood Red Mad, BRB,
yeah. Oof.
BRM.
I had a thought though. I wonder, I was describing my time in Albuquerque a couple of weeks ago,
Albuquerque.
and I saw Albuquerque, and I saw some of it yesterday, a couple of days ago in Denver. I wonder if what I was seeing wasn't fentanyl, the results of fentanyl, because it had
Mm.
physically it looked like people that I would have suspected for meth. And to be real clear, fentanyl was only coming around as I was making my way out. I had some exposure to it when I was undercover, in a real way.
Yeah,
But
you did.
but like I'm not familiar with how people on fentanyl look in terms of their
Right.
like so
I, I saw
the behavior.
overdoses. We've seen overdoses of it.
Yeah. But like you had asked, you made the comment about are they kind of scrishing around? And they weren't. They were it was more like zombie type, just kind of
Mm.
just lurking is what kind of what it looked like. And so now I'm wondering,
Maybe they
maybe it
weren't
wasn't.
tweakers.
Yeah, maybe they weren't tweakers. Maybe it was fentanyl.
Yeah.
And I saw some of it the other day in Denver, like the whole standing up and like leaning.
Oh, the lean.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was kind of sad. I've seen videos of it online. We don't have that. We don't have to that level in Wichita. Like
I
I
can
saw
talk
in
about some
Denver.
Wichita crime. My son got his catalytic converter stolen
Are you
from his
serious?
from his Honda that I helped him buy. I helped him scrape together his pennies to buy this 2005 Honda Accord. He was at church. I'm not going to name the name of the church, but he was at his church this past Sunday and someone cut off his catalytic converter.
Ah, that sucks.
Yeah.
That really sucks.
So yeah.
So in why in the world? I've got some ideas, and I think you've got some. I think it's probably pretty obvious. But why are we of all of the things that our government is focused on, of
Yeah.
all of the things that our government is doing or not doing, the things that I wish they
They're
would
not
do,
investigating Jeffrey Epstein, that's for sure.
that creep. They barely opened the government back up. I don't know if people are getting their assistance yet or not. And
They haven't as of last night.
you're telling me that this is the thing that we're focused on? Are you
Uh-huh.
kidding me? A thing that 90% of the citizens want.
Want.
You're telling me that we're going to spend tax dollars and effort and energy and resources on this?
I mentioned it and when we talked about an Alabama law a couple episodes ago before Originals Influencer. But Alabama, in their law, quoted a federal study that said 9 out of 10 Americans over 30 or over 18 want marijuana, like actual cannabis, to be legalized. Alabama was using that as an argument against these other forms of cannabis, against THCA and THCP. They're like, look, 9/10 of Americans don't even want this shit.
They don't even want it. Get rid of it.
Yeah. Like, yeah, because they want the real thing. That was a federal study. These politicians know. Like, they're
Yeah.
not advocating for you. They're not advocating for definitely not for your freedom of autonomy, freedom of choice as an adult. They're definitely not regulating for that. They're not regulating for your ability to make health decisions for yourself.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
not they're not advocating for your ability to make decisions of your family for yourself.
I saw, in fact, I think it might have been you, it might have been Travis in our group chat. Somebody sent a text about the connection between THC use and the decline of alcohol.
Yes.
And from people that I know in my personal life, like that
Me.
rings true. 100%.
Me.
Like people that use cannabis, from the people that I know, do not use alcohol. Like it's just not even on the radar.
Definitely
It's
not
not
like they
interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, because you don't need it anymore. It's the only options I had for substances growing up, legal substances, like to unwind after a long day, to regulate whatever, when I get stressed out, even if it's at a party with other adults. The only thing I ever saw growing up was alcohol and tobacco. Usually copious amounts of alcohol and a regular, like tobacco wasn't even a thing back then. But as far as like considering it as a substance like that, it
Yeah.
was just something that most people did. Well, now I have other options, much better options, options that won't kill my liver, options that won't drown my brain. It's not a free ride. I think it should be used responsibly. I think I should use it responsibly. I'm
Yeah.
not willing to regulate what another adult American is what they have the freedom to do. I think it should be treated like alcohol. Make it 21 and over and tax the hell out of it. And fund
Yeah.
schools.
Or don't tax the hell out of it. How about you
Yeah.
just leave it alone?
Tax it normally.
I'm gonna just be honest, because initially I was going to try to pretend like I wasn't one of those guys. But in Kansas, I'm a big fan of the Farm Bill, and I'm a big fan of the Delta 8 and 9. And in my experience, I've been using it for a few years now, and I could count on my now. Bear in mind, I was coming from at least, I don't even know the 175. What's the 1.75 liters?
At 0.75 or a 750.
So I was going through one of those of whiskey every couple days. Like
which means you were drinking pints of that, because it has like some pints in it. You're drinking pints of whiskey every day,
like consistently.
Yeah,
every day. And since I started using the Delta 8 and 9, I could count on my hand the number of times that I've had alcohol, even beer. And it's simply because I just don't want it. Like I don't need it. I don't like it. I don't want it. I don't like the effects of it. I don't like the way it makes me feel, all of those things. And I just have to assume that has something to do with why the federales are so against it.
Well, so you can imagine how, and we know, that there are, like you and I grew up with the big wars of tobacco, of Benson Hedges and Marlboro and all them folks going to war. And most of those companies have transitioned to food now. Like
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So they're using their same manipulation and hiding just in food. But there are lobbyists that obviously tobacco would not want marijuana to be legal. Alcohol would not want marijuana to be legal. Believe it or not, there might be some influence over politicians by the pharmaceutical industry. The pharmaceutical industry that sells antidepressants and SSRIs and all these other appetite regulators, sleep regulators, mood regulators, all these things that do what just CBD does. Like even the step part of weed that doesn't get you high. They're wanting your insurance industry was not going to pay for weed. They'll pay Pfizer for their SSRIs, and they'll pay Johnson & Johnson, but they're not going to pay you $10 to go get a gram or two.
Which, by the way, one of the warnings when you quit taking your SSRIs is it may increase suicide completion.
Yeah, completion.
So somebody,
God damn,
would prefer that I risk killing myself than having the freedom to choose something else.
A plant.
Because that SSRI makes somebody rich.
Yes. And we know this plant has been part of the human experience for so long that there's actual epigenetic characteristics to where we've developed, like we know this because other common ancestors, other great ape cousins don't have a part of the brain that has CBD and CBG and THC receptors. Ours does, because whenever we started to split from the hairy apes, we were using substances. And it seems like some of those substances contain CBD, CBG, CBN, and THC, because we've developed evolutionarily a receptor for that in our brain that other great apes don't have. So we don't have... Those receptors are being manipulated by pharmaceuticals to make you a zombie, to make you not want to blah, blah, blah. And like I said before, I don't think anything is a fix-all. I don't think marijuana will solve all of your problems. But it's a lot better options than some things. At least it appears to me. And it has been in my lived experience. It's been a lot better option.
In my experience, it has allowed me to conceive of things and ideas and consider things that I just never had the capacity to consider before.
It made it possible for my brain to think in some different ways.
And some of those ways are just, the way that the way that people are treated.
Yes.
Like I never had in my mind.
It induces empathy. It makes you empathetic.
Yeah. And I've always been a highly empathetic person, but I still have these rigid boundaries of well, yeah, but this person did that, or they did that, or that's bullshit, or whatever. And it's something about it. I don't know what it is, but something about it has opened my mind to at least consider other experiences that aren't my own.
I'll tell you this, I don't think there would be as much of a need for Cash Patel to go to China and
Yeah,
ask these
I guarantee there
government
would.
officials, yeah, if marijuana was never criminalized in the first place.
Yeah,
If marijuana was part of our problem, I don't think I don't know, because this is I'm looking into a crystal ball, but it's hard for me to see our path to the opioid crisis and to the DUIs, as many the alcoholism and the Xanax, the self-regulating pharmaceutical stuff that we're going through. If cannabis had been there all along, I don't think it would have.
yeah, I agree. Now I would take it a step further, and I think I want to say that all drugs should be legal. I don't think that all drugs should be consumed, but
Right.
I don't think that it's a law enforcement or a government issue. But I do think that psychedelics, I think, should be at least considered. I don't know. I can't say everybody should use them. I have no idea what somebody's personal
I think they fit
life is.
closer into like Schedule 2 or 3, right? Psychedelics, as far as like medical
Um,
purpose.
yeah, I've never been real clear on the schedules and how exact. I mean, I know that it is ranked from propensity for abuse to, from most to high, or least to most.
Oh,
I'm
so
not sure.
maybe Schedule 3. I think at Schedule 1, there's no medical use and a high propensity for abuse. So, like,
Okay.
there's no medical benefit and there's a high propensity for abuse in Schedule 1.
Okay.
Schedule 2 is your opioids, things that there are a medical use for, but there's a high propensity for abuse. So it's regulated. And I think Schedule 3 is it's good, good. It just needs to be
Okay.
regulated because the theory is, and I think it kind of applies here, that I don't want, I don't know, I'm not an expert, but in my mind, I don't want my brother or anyone that I care about who may be going through a thing, like a mental health thing. I don't want them to have necessarily free access, like unsupervised access to go to a dealer in a back alley and be like, hey, can I get a liter of ayahuasca or what? I don't know what it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just because I'm scared of that. But if there's anyone trained, I think, or like
Yeah.
a guide, an educator, I think that makes all the sense in the world.
Yeah. And wouldn't it make sense for somebody that's going through a thing
Yeah.
to have the ability to go down the street or to go to a center or to go wherever,
Yes.
even if it's controlled, but to have the ability to receive these treatments or to receive these medicines, which I truly believe are medicine.
Yeah.
But that makes so much more sense than to say no, it's illegal. And not only is it illegal for you to consume in your own home, these trained professionals, it's also illegal for them to guide you or
The, yeah.
to help you with it.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I wouldn't, I can kind of backtrack and I wouldn't use the word license or anything like that. But I just feel like from what I've heard from podcasts and like other people's experiences, I would just, I guess, highly suggest that that someone uses a guide, because even then my own libertarian ideologies, I have to say that even that should be accessible to a consenting adult for recreation if they want to, if they choose to.
Yeah. Um, Interesting. Think about, so just rattle off, if you can, just off the top of your head, what some Schedule One drugs would be, where they say there's no medical benefit.
So they say cocaine, right? No, cocaine's got to be scheduled 2 then because it's in lidocaine.
Well, that's okay, and that's my point. That's what I was going to get at. Is for every drug that they say there is no
Marijuana
medical
is what they
benefit,
say. Yeah.
there's a pharmaceutical
Equivalent.
alternative.
Yes.
So don't tell me that it's, even if you wanted to say MDMA or meth or anything that
Adderall, Ritalin.
you probably shouldn't, maybe you shouldn't use. I don't know. But still, don't tell me there's no medical benefit when you're going to sell it to me through the pharmacy by a brand name.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's the thing is the pharmacy and the pharmaceutical companies are now making, it's so insulting. And that's why it's frustrating whenever I see these boomer and millennial friends and former coworkers of mine that are putting this idiotic support of this. I mean, it's obviously this is being orchestrated by lobbyists. Donald Trump, and even maybe not even Donald Trump, but like the whatever these government people that are have a war against THC, they're not supporting you. They're not considering your propensity for abuse. They're not considering your propensity for whatever your health conditions. They're getting money from Pfizer, homie.
Yeah.
They're getting
Or
campaign
Anheuser-Busch
money.
or
Yes.
somebody.
Uh-huh. Benson Hedges. And if not, they come from they maybe a representation like they're backwards they think that their constituents because they're Republican. No, it's not even that. I think that's too sincere to give to them. No, dude, it's for greed. It's for
90,
greed.
90% of American citizens want, based on the study you reported, 90% of the citizens want legalization. So don't
Yes.
tell me it's anything about
Don't tell me it's
anything
for your
about your
citizens.
nope.
No.
Unless, and this is possible, unless you just think that you know so much more than like you know what your constituents need, and
Right.
they may think that they want them, bless their heart, but it's not good for it. So it's not good for you. So we're going to go ahead and restrict what you need, what you want, because we know best. You're just
Right.
an idiot. You're just a
You're an
little
idiot.
idiot. Yeah, you can't handle yourself.
And that's even a more charitable version. There's darker possibilities because also we want you to be on all these super concentrated, super dangerous pharmaceuticals. I'm not even going to name the types, but we want you to be on these pharmaceuticals so we can easily control you. So you're more manipulated by the ads. You're not thinking for yourself. You don't have a thought to think for yourself anymore because you turned your brain off or put it in neutral. And so whenever the ad tells you to go buy Pringles, must go buy Pringles. Whenever the ad tells you be or whenever any media station tells you to vote this way or that, must vote this way or that, must support this country at all cost.
Do you
Our
think that
greatest
that
ally.
do you think that that's part of it? Do you think that it really is that there's a level of wanting you to be just somewhat of a zombie that just doesn't think for themselves? At
The
least
ten,
in relate, like I think that 100% just like culturally in society, that's what some would want. Do you think that it's directly connected to prohibition?
in the eyes of Anheuser-Busch, it is. In the eyes of the pharmaceutical companies, it is. I mean, because it's not just this, right? They want you to be conditioned. They even want you to be forced by law to take some of their products. Like some of their products, they say you shouldn't have a choice of whether you take it or not, or whether your kids take it or not. And so they're not concerned. I think they want you to be, they want society to be conditioned with no choice and no thought of their own. Whether they explicitly say that or not, that's what their actions are saying. That's what their
Yeah.
goals state. Like they want more mandated pharmaceuticals for everybody. They don't want less, they want more. They
Mm.
want, you know, yeah, they want less free thought. They don't want more. They want less critical thinking. They don't want you to ask about Jeffrey Epstein. That's critical thinking. They don't
Yeah.
want that. And so, yeah, I think it's the big machine, much like how there might not be a guy with a big white beard in the clouds pulling the levers make of every single thing making you
You know
the,
that one of those old timey like pianos where they got the horn and the bells and they're
yeah.
and they're pulling the levers.
Yeah. Yeah. There might not be a guy with a white beard in the clouds that's in charge of everything just like that, but there is a universe and there's definitely intelligent aspects of that universe that's undeniable. I say that because you're part of this universe and you're an intelligent aspect that's undeniable. And same thing with there's a universe that it has all these controls and has an intelligent design to it. There might not be a guy who says, "Hey," even then, I don't know, because there's the mega group. But anyway, that's another conspiracy train. There might not be a guy or a group of people who are saying we want to control people's free will and their choice and their options of thought, blah 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 blah. But make no mistake, they don't want you to have options for political parties. They want you to only have D and R in your political options. They don't like third options. They don't like more. They don't like more thought, and we see that.
Yeah.
Those same people also don't, are advocating. They don't want you to have the thought for self-care, for self. Yeah, they're anti-American almost. They're definitely anti-individual and anti-freedom. These people that are wanting to regulate THCA and THCP.
I would like to see a little bit of a change of course. I would like to see Cash Patel's face when he's talking, his eyes specifically when he's talking to Xi Jinping. Like, I just have to wonder: does he appear as afraid of talking to Xi Jinping as he does to Congress or the media?
I don't know, man. He just pisses me off. He's such a deflector. He doesn't answer anything. There's theories, there's conspiracy theories about his girlfriend, his country music star girlfriend, that she's a Mossad honeypot. Have you heard those?
I have, yeah.
People have been getting sued.
Oh,
The Department of Justice is going after the Department of Justice, not people's personal attorneys. Your tax dollars are funding investigations into social media influencers that have claimed Cash Patel's girlfriend is working for Mossad.
I mean that's good because
We don't want
I
misinformation.
I want my tax dollars going to reducing options, and I want my tax dollars going to keep people from saying mean things about our leaders.
I want my tax dollars to restrict freedom of speech. I want my tax dollars to restrict religious options. I want my tax dollars to restrict my ability to assemble and protest the government. I want my tax dollars to restrict my ability to own firearms. I want my tax dollars.
If we could find some room in those tax dollars to bomb some folks, some folks who may or may not have anything to do with the reason that we're bombing them. If we have to bomb some fishermen, like that's where my tax dollars. I don't want people to have health care. I don't want people to have, basic needs. I don't want housing to be affordable. I want lack of options and as many bombs as possible. And if you could just, if you could just
make all of my choices for me. Can you tell me what to do? Can you tell me how to think? Can you tell me what to buy? As a matter of fact,
Daddy.
just take away my money. You
Yeah,
send
thanks,
me
Daddy.
what I need. Thank you.
Um, kind of related, well, somewhat related to Cash Patel. I saw a headline, and I don't know what to make of Threads. I kind of feel like I can't Threads the social. I don't know, social media.
Yeah. There's a Lawless on Threads, I think. I'm pretty
Are
sure
we
there
on
is. Yeah,
is
we
it
are.
us or okay?
Lawless podcast with
Wait.
Justin Clayton because we have an IG account. Anyway.
Um, so I saw an article that Pam Bondi had turned in her resignation. What I was getting at is I just don't know that there's any. I don't know that Threads is any more trustworthy than TikTok. I have no idea, but I did see that, and I saw a document where she said that she was submitting her resignation, but I don't know if that's true. Have you heard anything about that?
No, but I would love to hear that.
What? And it may be connected. I saw it was on the same day that I saw both some discovered emails that Trump was involved in with Epstein. Have you seen those? Are those legit?
There's the part that I saw is a correspondence between Jeffrey Epstein and that said, ask Putin if he has the pictures of Trump blowing Bubba. And Bubba was what Jeffrey Epstein called Bill Clinton.
Okay.
Pam Bondi has not resigned. However, she has faced criticism and calls for her resignation. She has faced criticism and calls for her resignation due to the handling of Jeffrey Epstein files. Pam Bondi brushes aside questions of her resignation.
So check that out. Check that up to fake news.
Fake news.
Fake news. You heard it here first. Fake news is on Threads.
Get out of here. You're saying there's misinformation? Now, do you think, I know the answer to this, but what do you know of people like it would benefit the establishment, quote unquote, for you to say with a matter of fact, Pam Bondi issued her resignation. I heard it, I read it. So you guys all, for you to purposely spread something that you in good faith thought was true, that even like helps our opinion, our side, and for the established media to later catch you and be like, look, Justin J Dubs was sharing fake news. He doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. That's why you guys should not trust independent sources of information. That's why you guys should not look up this stuff on yourself. You don't know how to do it. You don't know how to interpret these things. That's called misinformation. There's yeah, misinformation campaigns. That looks like, I believe that could be a misinformation campaign to make conspiracy theorists less credible.
I'm looking to see if I can find it, and I probably won't be able to because there's just so much. Yeah, it's like any social media. There's just so much on it on a regular basis.
Well, I mean, Kash Patel could be investigating lobbyist groups affecting, possibly corrupting U.S. politicians. He could be investigating captured industry like the pharmaceutical industry, the manufacturing industry, the whatever industries where there's long been suspicions and even pretty black and white evidence of corruption and manipulation. He could be investigating possible foreign intelligence agents acting in America, blackmailing politicians and getting them in compromising positions. He could be investigating all sorts of things, but instead, he's focusing on fentanyl. As the head of the department of the FBI, he's not investigating Charlie Kirk's assassination. We know that because that case is closed.
Is that even still? I haven't heard anything about
Are we
that
still
in a
talking
while.
about that creep?
I haven't heard anything about that for a while. Is that still like which
The last
which, which seems to be the trend?
Yeah.
Is that we just stop hearing about things and they go away?
The last I heard about it was a couple weeks ago when he was making his first. What is the first appearance whenever you plead in court? Do you remember?
I think it's called your first appearance, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. Your first when he was making his first appearance, the Trump administration was really trying to force him to either do it by video court and stay, but they wanted him to do it by video court and not leave suicide watch. And he says that he's not suicidal and has never claimed to be suicidal, but he's on suicide watch, so he's wearing the turtle smock. And he wanted to show up to his first appearance, and he did, but he wanted to show up to his first appearance in civilian clothes, like they're supposed to be allowed to, with his attorney, and he wanted to plead not guilty. Well, where I had last heard of it, the Trump administration, Trump's Department of Justice, was saying that he's not allowed to, and they didn't want him to show up in court, period. They didn't want people to see him. And if he was going to show up in court, they didn't want him to wear civilian clothes. Well, the last I had heard, the judge in charge of the process said he's going to be allowed to show up to court and he's going to be allowed to wear civilian clothes, but he's not going to allow cameras into the courtroom. He's not going to allow recording of it. So you're not going to be able to take any pictures of him when he's in there. That's the last I heard of it. I don't think he did it. I don't think the Tyler Robinson was a shooter. I think that whole story's bullshit. And I especially think that by the Department of Justice ignoring apparent information that any hunter, like I was going to say any veteran or law enforcement, but anyone who has firearms experience, like with long guns, think about taking that shot from 200 yards, which is not the hard part, but then breaking it down in 30 seconds, running across a roof, jumping off a two-story building, reassembling it, burying it in the woods. That is the official story.
And that's not taking a shot at a deer from 200 yards.
No.
That's not a still target. That's not, it's not paper. Like there's got to be you got to have nerves of steel to be a civilian, to be just a regular dude and pull that shot off. I think maybe I could be wrong. I'm not a marksman, but to me, it seems like there'd be a lot more moving pieces when we're talking about an assassination.
Think of all the thousands. I mean, how many people were in attendance that day? Thousands of people were in attendance. When you take a shot at a deer, your heart is beating through your chest. Your heart is moving your shirt and your coat. When you're taking, at least for me, when I'm taking a shot at a deer, it's very nerve-wracking, and I've done it. Um, Taking a shot at a Charlie Kirk, a giant talking head. He was the voice of probably the young conservative Christian movement, was Charlie Kirk.
For sure.
Um, Surrounded by thousands of people, he can do that and then has the frame of mind to break down this bolt action 30-06 faster than any special operator Green Beret on YouTube can, and then sprint across a two-story building, jump off said two-story building without the gun, but he still has it somehow and reassembles it and throws it into the woods.
Yeah, it's bullshit.
Yeah, it's bullshit. And Kash Patel has been public criticizing any criticism of that theory, criticizing the conspiracy theories of the not official story. Yeah.
So, anytime somebody, I think this is just a good rule of thumb to live by. Anytime somebody is actively lying to you, I think you've got to consider what's the truth? Like, why are you lying? Like, why lie about this? What's the purpose? Who are you protecting? What are you protecting? What are you keeping from me? Do you think that I can't handle do you think that we can't handle the truth? Like, why would you lie about it?
And why are they lying? And why are they attacking people who question it so hard? Their own base. Like, Tucker Carlson is the mouthpiece of the conservative movement in America right now. Like, at least from my view, Tucker Carlson is the mouthpiece. They're attacking him because he's criticizing the U.S. government's relationship with Israel and the handling of Jeffrey Epstein. Yeah.
The only reason you do that is to shut somebody up.
The only reason to do
or to shut other people up. In that book I was talking about, the Hellbent, he talks about how, like, he saw what happened to Rob Bell. He saw what happened to Peter Enns. Like, when somebody steps out and says something and the establishment like they just remove them, it has a chilling effect on
heretic.
People.
He's a heretic.
And there's a lot of people that are they're going to see that and say, well, I don't want that for me. I still need to be in this circle. And I think that's the only reason why they're coming down so hard on people asking questions, is because they don't want other people to ask questions. Yeah. That's the only reason that I can think of.
Yeah. I mean, we've kind of been talking about it. Might be the theme of our show if you read between the lines. But
let's see what chat says.
Critical thought is a threat to power, whether it's deconstruction, whether it's your departure from an authoritarian lifestyle or authoritarian organization, whether it's your departure from a political ideology. Critical thought is the enemy for those in power. For those that want to do your thinking for you, they do not like critical thought.
Yeah.
Left, right, blue, purple, atheist, Hindu, Christian, no matter what it is, people who want to do your thinking for you, who want to do your options for you, they do not like you to be educated. They don't like you to be healthy. They don't want you to be mentally healthy. They don't want you to be physically healthy. They want you to need their meds. They want you to need their Chevy. They want you to need their Pop-Tarts. They want you to need,
Something I'm proud of is the attitude I had when I was a sergeant was that I genuinely believe that you should question authority.
Yes.
As my subordinates, you should question my authority.
You told me that.
And if you can't, the moment you can't, now there's times for sure. There's times in certain circumstances where, listen, now's not the time to question my authority. Like, now is the time, life or death, we got to go. But as a general rule, if you can't question someone, they don't have the authority they're pretending to have. Yeah. It's a farce. Because if they can't stand up to scrutiny, then it's not it's not legitimate authority. It's a show.
But when there's rounds coming in and when there's a fire going, that's not the time for you to question
For
why.
sure. For sure.
But one of my favorite stories of me and you was after you told me not to arrest the guy who was driving through the guy. Remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Someone.
I remember it well.
Yeah.
And I love you.
Yeah. Thank you. Well, I mean, I felt comfortable enough to tell you that I didn't agree with how you told me to handle it. And now in that time, I still handled it how you told me to do it. I did not argue with you. I did not, but at least not to my mind. I don't remember arguing with you or anything like that. I did what you told me to do. But afterwards, we had the relationship because of your leadership style, where I could say, and yeah, I would say that's maybe before we were really friends. We were friendly, but we didn't have this personal relationship. I still felt comfortable enough to say, hey, Sarge, I don't like the way that you made me handle that. It actually made me feel like this or that. And you talked me through your point of view. And I eventually changed my way of thinking because you were not, it wasn't because I said so. It wasn't because, well, the court's not going to do it, so we're just not going to do it. 18th isn't going to prosecute, so we're just ignoring that.
I think where that comes from, and we saw that from the highest of the top of our organization, the idea that you can't question me. And I think that, and it's no intended disrespect, I think that comes from a position of not really trusting the authority that you have.
Yeah.
Like I don't really feel I don't really feel comfortable being in charge or having this authority. So I don't need no questions. You can't question this thing because it makes me feel nervous because I'm afraid it might not actually stand up. I might actually be wrong. I might not actually know what I'm talking about. And I don't want that to come out. I don't want to be exposed. 11:11, make a wish. So we've got about 4 minutes before we hit our 2 hour mark. What do we want to wrap up on? We didn't talk about any of the things, by the way.
Any of the things. Well, no, that's fine. Yeah. I want people, I don't know. I don't want to get too deep. I'm not here to give people life advice. You know what I mean? I'm here to just
give what you got.
Yeah. Critical thought, whatever. I want people to read, meditate, and pray. And just, that doesn't even mean anything either. Like, heart, subscribe, go to wherever you listen to podcasts.
TikTok.
We're on the talk. That is going to take a couple days to get loaded, but by the time this episode drops, I think we're going to have all those bugs figured out as far as just uploading the actual vids. You're taking lead on that, my man. Boom, boom.
Yeah.
Check out everyone who's been here. I have a couple people who have reached out for me for advertising and sponsors, or at least one person. I'm waiting for some more before we start really get going on that. So if you want, I'll tell you what, our highest viewership by far, like 75%, is in Wichita. So Wichita businesses. If you're a Wichita entrepreneur, or you want to get a message or a word out in Wichita, reach us at podcastlawless@gmail.com. Justin or I will get back to you. It's going to be one of us. Our second biggest audience ship, there's some bike cops that just rolled through my neighborhood, bicycle cops, is in East Tennessee. Reach out, podcastlawless@gmail.com. Some of you might have my cell phone number directly. Reach out to me if you have a business or want your message to get out. Besides that, anywhere in the world, but specifically those two markets, we have a pretty big listenership in.
If you're actually in Kenya or South Africa or Bangladesh, I want you to reach out.
Please
do.
Any form. It doesn't have to be on email. DM me, message me.
And I think if you we didn't say this in the beginning, and I think it's good, because if you're just a casual listener, then I don't think that this invitation isn't for you. Okay. This is for, I'm going to say it. This is for the folks that made it this far.
People aren't going to like it, but you're going to say it anyway.
I'm going to say it anyway. If you have someone that you know that, or don't know, or that you just would like to hear their thoughts on things, well, I'd love some suggestions for who you think we should talk to.
Absolutely.
because one thing that Clayton does really well is he doesn't like he'll just ask anybody anything.
Amen.
He's not he doesn't have that same nervousness that I have of, oh, this complete stranger might think that I'm a loser and they might think mean things about me. Clayton, he'll just sit, maybe you do have those same thoughts, but you power through.
Yeah.
My man Clayton, you send him a name of somebody that we should talk to, I guarantee you he will extend the invitation.
I will. I have talked to, I don't think I can name some of these names, but I have talked to very powerful, at least, not that they remember my name, but I'm not afraid to reach out to anyone.
Yeah. So give us some
Anyone.
suggestions. That's the little bonus that you get for sticking around so long.
Amen. I think that's it, buddy. This is a really good episode.
Yeah, always fun talking to you. And we didn't even get into the Colorado trip, but next time let's talk about it.
Yeah, I want to do a deep dive into it.
Cool. All right. Always good to talk to you. We'll see you later. Stay lawless.
Stay
That's
lawless.
how we should. That's how we should end our episodes.
Stay lawless. I
Stay
like
lawless.
it.
All right. Later.
Bye.